Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Lively U Virtual Learning Academy on behalf of the Wood County Committee on Aging. This presentation today is on Tour de France presented by our Bowling Green State University students. Please welcome them.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Andrea. I'm part of our group. And then also Kara and Nathan are here. And we will just start off with our presentation. Kara.
All right. So the first thing we're kind of going to start with is language. And we have a small video that kind of just goes over the alphabet that we're going to start with, because in order to pronounce anything, you kind of need to know the alphabet first.
A. Acteur. B. Bonjour. C. Coiffeur. D. Douche. E. Examen. F. France. G. Garçon. H. Hiver. I. Igloo. J. Journaliste. K. Klaxon. L. Lire. M. Manger. N. Nuage. O. Orage. P. Policier. Q. Quai. R. Rêver. S. Serveur. T. Train. U. Urgent. V. Voiture. W. Wagon. X. Xylophone. Y. Yo-yo. Z. Zèbre. A. B. C. D. E. F. G. H. I. J. K. L. M. N. O. P. Q. R. S. T. U. V. W. X. Y. Z.
All right. So now that we have the alphabet, I did kind of go in and put some phrases out if you were going to go visit. These are just some simple things that you may want to know how to say. So we have bonjour, which is hello. We have bonsoir, which is good evening. We have enchanté, which is nice to meet you. We have ça va, which is how are you. We have merci, which is thank you. And then if you're going to introduce yourself, I just put my name in there because it was the easiest thing to do. So I would say je suis Kara, which means I'm Kara, or my name's Kara. We have je suis désolé, which is I'm sorry. And then we have pouvez-vous répéter s'il vous plaît, which is can you repeat it please, which is something I think I would definitely use a lot if I were going to be visiting there, just because they do tend to speak very fast there. And then we have je ne comprends pas, which means I do not understand. We have je ne parle beaucoup de France, which means I don't speak much French. We have je suis perdu, which means I'm lost. So if you're visiting a city, it's very common that someone might say. And then we have tu t'appelles comment, which is what is your name. So these are just kind of like simple phrases that if you were going to be visiting a city that you had no idea with that language that you might want to know. There are definitely more phrases that you might know, such as, where's the bathroom and stuff like that. But overall, those are just some simple things that could start off. And French itself is a Romance language. It's used in many, many places. There's a whole bunch of places in Africa, Sweden, all kinds of places that use French as one of their main languages. And it does come as a descent from Latin.
All right. I was going to be talking about the culture in France and some attractions you might want to visit, the currency, and maybe just how long you would want to spend there. So I focus mainly in Paris, and in Paris they have what we're looking at right now is the Louvre, which is a really famous museum that houses famous sculptures and paintings, as well as the Mona Lisa and works of Picasso. You might also want to visit the Arc de Triomphe, or the Eiffel Tower, or the Paris Opera. Those might be some attractions that you would like. And any day trips from Paris you could take. Disneyland Paris is one very popular day trip that you could take, as well as traveling to Normandy beaches. And the currency in France is euros, since they are a part of the European Union. And for first-time visitors, I would recommend spending about a week in Paris, and you could take day trips to Versailles or perhaps Loire Valley. And if you were more seasoned tourist, maybe traveled out of the country before, I would recommend putting aside at least 2 weeks to visit a broader area to be able to see everything that you would like to see. You could start in Paris and travel down to the Loire, or continue through, perhaps ending up in the Riviera. Each area of France could easily sustain a 5 to 7 day stay. And in the winter, there is skiing in the Alps, which I'm not a huge skier, and I'm not sure if any of you are, but it would definitely be a very pretty sight. And I do have a video just of a quick experience of France's culture. Miss Arlie. Hi there. All right. Moving on, Nathan, if you want to start talking about our traveling as a tourist.
All right. So, yeah. So, in general, France is generally a safe place to travel. But if you go to Paris and visit anywhere that's like stereotypically touristy, like museums, monuments, etc., but especially things like the Eiffel Tower, Notre Dame, and Champs Elysees, beware of pickpockets, because those are so try to keep only the essentials, like one credit card, one piece of identification, and no more than $40 to $50 in cash. And basically, like, try not to carry anything that you're willing to lose. Um, so make sure you make copies of your things, like your passport, credit card, and try to memorize your social security number. I don't know. Like, basically, just if in case something does happen, um, if you have those, if you have copies, or if you have things memorized, it'll be much easier uh, to it'll be much easier to kind of uh, to deal with the problem in case in case, God forbid, that ever does happen. Um, so if you are a woman, only carry purses that zip, and make sure you carry your purse tightly under your arm and slightly in front of you. Um, but if you're a man, um, put a rubber band around your wallet, as it will be harder to steal anything like that without it'll be harder to steal without you noticing it. And then, kind of like the last little thing about pickpocketing, friends, is try to dress like a local. Um, don't wear anything, especially kind of like touristy, but especially don't wear like something like a fanny pack, because like that'll kind of like mark you as a tourist, and you'll be more likely to get pickpocketed. So just a couple things to keep in mind, but in general, it is a great place. Make sure you have fun, but just kind of like look out and be safe. So the next thing that we have is our transportation. Um, so yeah, so the one of the most famous things is the train. So in France, you have the SNCF, which is just basically the train railroad system or whatever. But it goes to 150 cities within France. So if you want to go from city to city, um, like you can use it to go from city to city throughout Paris and the surrounding areas of Europe, like Spain and I think Germany and stuff like that. Like, for example, you can go for example, a trip from Paris to Nice is a 5.5 hour ride, and it only costs £45, which is super nice. Um, like, if you're occasionally taking short trips, um, or taking long distance trips, it'll be it'll kind of be it'll kind of be what do you call it? It'll kind of be good for you to purchase a um, a rail pass. So it's just like, in the long run, it'll be cheaper for you to buy it, instead of having to have all that money for all of those trips. So the next thing is buses. Buses are super nice. They're pretty much just like the buses here. They are easy and budget friendly, and they're in just about every city. So the next thing is rental cars. So consider a rental car if you want to explore smaller towns and villages, and not necessarily like the big cities. Um, so some popular rental companies include Hertz, Auto Europe, Avis, and Europcar. But so if you get a rental, you need a passport, driver's license, an international driving permit is not required, and a major credit card. It is very helpful for you to reserve it beforehand, just so that it's not, just so that you have it reserved, and so you can know that you'll have a car, and you don't. It'll probably be a little bit easier than trying to do it all once you get there. And then the big thing about rental cars in France is that the the majority of them are like, if you buy a rental car, like it's pretty much always going to be in a manual transmission. So that's something you have to like watch out for. And like automatics are much more expensive. But yeah. But the next thing is an Uber or a taxi. So you can call a taxi from the street, or you can call through the phone, or there's the Taxi G7 app that you can download on your phone. And so basically, the G7 app is just a way for you to reserve kind of like a taxi, and so that's nice. So some taxis won't accept credit cards, so just make sure you like ask first to see if it does. But the G7 app does accept credit cards, so that's nice. So it's a little bit more expensive than Uber, but you can use the bus lanes to get through heavy traffic, whereas Ubers can't. But make sure it's a licensed taxi. And if you use Uber, it can be cheaper, but it can also be more expensive at times because of a thing called surge pricing. And also, a lot of Parisians won't really like you using it. I guess maybe because you're like a tourist using their thing, but so those are the bunch of different options. So traveling as a tourist can be fun, and yeah. So just a little bit of things and how to travel and stuff to look out for. So overall, it's fun. I'm sure it's a fun time. So the next thing is cuisine. As you can see, we have some cognac shrimp with beer LeBlanc sauce on the left. In the middle, we have some delicious frog legs. And then on the right, we have a classic French bistro salad. I just wanted to show some more French dishes that aren't on here. All right. So the first one is wine. So wine is an integral part of French culture, and almost every region in France produces it. It is widely known to be the best in the world, and as such, France is the leading producer of wines in the world. It was started by French monks in the 6th century and started to spread to the surrounding countries like Spain, Italy, and Germany. So the popularity of wine increased by the Romans because they embraced the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church obviously uses wine the wine is the body and blood of Christ. The wine is the blood of Christ in the Eucharist. So, and the most famous wines are Champagne, Bordeaux, and Burgundy. So the next thing is bread. So as you can see, we have the baguette on the left, and then on the right is some brioche. So bread is very important in France, with 83% of people eating it every day, which is like a lot, especially considering it's every day. But it's good. So it was significant in the 18th century because it was what people ate to support themselves. and actually workers spent half of their daily wage to earn it, which is kind of interesting. So there are rules to eating it, like don't eat it before your first meal is out, um, and only break it with your fingers. It's kind of rude to bite it, uh, to like bite it off, or like to cut it with a knife. Um, so, and the last kind of like unspoken rule is to never put butter or any type of spread on it, because it is essentially like salting your food before you've eaten it. And so obviously, like I said before, the most popular style of bread is the baguette, followed by brioche, and the last one is called pain perdu, or lost or wasted bread. That's old or stale, aka French toast. So the next one is cheese. So cheese. France has close to 1,600 types of cheese, which is kind of incredible. So French people consume up to 57 pounds of cheese a year. It comes after your main. This is something that I found interesting. It usually comes after your main meal and before dessert. So it's not like an appetizer or whatever. So it comes after your main meal and before dessert. Um, so a plate has at least three types of cheeses, to represent the three types of milk used. So you got sheep, cow, and goat, and they should always be served at room temperature to maximize their flavor. Um, so it was started by French monks that experimented with making their cheese, and it is that experimentation that led to there being so many varieties today. The climate has a strong influence on the flavor of the cheese. There are about 7 families of cheese, including fresh, blue veined, hard, semi hard, processed, soft ripened, and cheddar. And then so on the left, and then you have the three most famous cheeses. So the first one is Brie, that's the most famous, and then you have Camembert, and then you have Roquefort, and Roquefort is on the left. So, all right, and then I just got a couple more slides here. So Ratatouille. Maybe some of you have heard of Ratatouille, like due to the movie. But so Ratatouille is a dish. Um, is a dish full of stewed vegetables consisting of eggplant, zucchini, yellow squash, and bell pepper in like a tomato sauce, which is super nice. Um, so the one on the left, the picture on the left is usually how it's served, or how it's traditionally served, or whatever. It's just a bunch of mixed vegetables. And then the one on the right is the one made famous by the style of Ratatouille in the movie Ratatouille. And that style of Ratatouille is called confit biardi. And so it's where you mandolin, or you like slice your vegetables on a mandolin, um, to get it that nice thinly sliced vegetables, and then you pile it up in like a nice little spherical shape. So looks very delicious. And then finally, we kind of have we have escargot, which is very famous. Um, it's snails. It's wild snails sautéed in butter, shallots, garlic, and parsley. Um, and it's topped with garlic butter. Very, 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 very delicious. Um, then you have corvin, or rooster in wine, and so that is bone-in chicken legs and thighs, red Burgundy wine, garlic, chopped onions, and criminy mushrooms, and a few pearl onions. So that is a good-looking chicken dish. And finally, we have crepes. So a crepe is a thin pancake. Sorry. It's a thin pancake with anything of your choice. It can be sweet or savory depending on the dish, and can act as a main course, a side dish, or a dessert. So France has a lot of delicious foods and drinks. So I'm sure. So it's definitely something you gotta try if you ever go there. So.
The next thing we're going to talk about is going to be the architecture and art. So the first thing I wanted to touch on was the Arc de Triomphe, and that's kind of because whenever going to France, that is like one of the main things people can pass and go see. So at night, it lights up the Tomb of Unknown Soldiers, and that's kind of like almost paying respects to like internally and internationally to the fallen people. And then we have the Cathedral de Notre Dame de Reims, which is one of the most popular cathedrals ever. I know a couple years ago there was an issue with part of it burning down. I know they have since rebuilt part of it and stuff like that. But it's got beautiful stained glass windows and everything about like that. It's traditional in a very beautiful Gothic style. And then earlier we did touch on the Louvre, which is one of the most popular museums in the world, home to Mona Lisa's Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, and other artists such as Chagall. And it is definitely something whenever people go visit France, they tend to go to that museum as one of their first things to go see.
All right. And so I will be talking about the weather in France, and typically the climate is temperate. Paris has a weather similar to London, though it's slightly warmer, ranging in the mid 70s in the summer and near 40 degrees in the winter. Temperatures do vary, however, in different regions of the country. Like the Riviere's climate is somewhat similar to Los Angeles, where the summers are in the 80s and winters in the 50s. And of course, the Alps winters are cold with snow. That's exactly what the skiers want. So, and in April in France, in Paris especially, it's rainy, kind of famous for being rainy. The weather is usually nice in September, where the crowds are smaller due to the end of the tourist season. And the main tourist season is June to September, peaking in July. Also, a lot of people who live in Paris go on vacation in August, and so that the city empties in August and the Riviera gets packed. And so that is all that we have slide-wise, and we were thinking that we could talk with you guys in a discussion of what was interesting to you, or where would you most like to travel if you were given the chance.
Great. I will stop the recording at this time.